My name is David, and I used to believe I had the perfect life. I lived in a cozy apartment in Chicago with my beautiful wife, Emily. We had been married for 5 years, and to everyone around us, we were the picture of happiness. Emily was a radiant woman, with long, flowing hair and a smile that could light up any room. Our friends often envied our relationship, and I felt grateful every day for the love we shared. Emily worked as a marketing executive, while I was a freelance writer. Our schedules often clashed, but we made it work. I cherished the weekends when we would explore the city together, trying out new restaurants and indulging in each other's company. However, as time went on, I began to notice subtle changes in Emily's behavior. She seemed distant at times, often lost in thought, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One day, we decided to rent out our spare bedroom to help with the bills. That's when we met Jake, a charming young man in his late 20s. He had just moved to Chicago for work and needed a place to stay. Jake was friendly, outgoing, and quickly became a part of our little household. He and Emily hit it off, sharing stories and laughter over dinner. I felt a sense of camaraderie with him, but deep down, I had a nagging feeling that I couldn't quite articulate. As the weeks went by, I noticed the chemistry between Emily and Jake. They would often engage in playful banter, and I found myself feeling increasingly uneasy. I brushed it off, telling myself that I was being paranoid. After all, Emily was my wife, and I trusted her. But that trust began to waver as I caught glimpses of their interactions, shared glances, lingering touches, and laughter that seemed to echo in the empty spaces of our apartment. It was a Friday evening when I first noticed something unusual. I had planned a romantic dinner at home, hoping to rekindle the spark in our relationship. As I set the table, I could hear Emily and Jake chatting in the living room, their voices filled with excitement. I felt a pang of jealousy but dismissed it, convincing myself that I was being irrational. After dinner, Emily excused herself to take a phone call. I could hear her voice, soft and flirtatious, as she stepped out onto the balcony. Curiosity got the better of me, and I quietly followed her, straining to hear her side of the conversation. My heart raced as I realized she was talking to Jake. They were discussing plans for the weekend, and Emily's laughter was laced with an intimacy that sent chills down my spine. The following week, my suspicions only deepened. Emily began to spend more time with Jake, often going out for errands that lasted hours. Each time she left, I felt a growing sense of dread. I tried to confront her, but she dismissed my concerns, assuring me that everything was fine. I wanted to believe her, but my heart couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her. One evening, I decided to follow Emily after she left for what she claimed was a quick trip to the grocery store. My heart pounded as I trailed her car through the streets of Chicago, my mind racing with possibilities. As I turned down a side street, I spotted her car parked outside a trendy bar. I parked a short distance away and watched, my breath hitching in my throat. I couldn't believe my eyes as I watched Emily and Jake emerge from the bar, laughter spilling from their lips like music. They were standing close, their bodies almost touching as they shared a secret joke. My heart sank as I saw them share a fleeting touch that felt far too intimate for mere friends. It was in that moment that the truth hit me like a tidal wave. I was witnessing the betrayal of my wife. I felt a surge of anger and sadness, a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume me. I couldn't bear to watch any longer, so I turned and drove home, tears streaming down my face. I knew I had to confront Emily, but the thought terrified me. How could I prove the truth I had discovered? What would I say? That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the evening over and over in my mind, each moment piercing my heart like a dagger. I finally decided I couldn't let this go any longer. When Emily returned home, I confronted her as calmly as I could manage. "Emily, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. She looked at me, surprise and confusion etched on her face. I could feel the tension in the air thickening as I gathered the courage to speak. "I saw you with Jake," I confessed, my heart racing. You were at the bar together. I saw how close you were. Her expression shifted, a flicker of guilt passing through her eyes before she took a deep breath. David, it's not what you think, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Emily's denial cut deep, but I needed answers. Then what is it, Emily? Because from where I stand, it looks like you're hiding something. She paused, her gaze dropping to the floor. We were just talking, David. It was nothing, I swear. But I could see the cracks in her story, the way her hands fidgeted as she spoke. I pressed on, needing to know the truth. If it's nothing, then why do I feel like I'm losing you? Why do I feel like you're slipping away from me? Emily's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I thought she might finally confess. But she shook her head, her voice trembling. I promise, I'm not cheating on you. I love you. Despite her words, doubt gnawed at me. I needed proof, something concrete that would either confirm my worst fears or bring me peace of mind. I began to search for clues, scouring through her messages and social media accounts when she wasn't around. Each time I found nothing, a flicker of hope ignited within me, but it was quickly extinguished by the nagging feeling that something was still amiss. One late night, after another long day of searching, I stumbled upon an unfamiliar number in her call log. My heart raced as I copied it down, determined to get to the bottom of this. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was the key to uncovering the truth. With the number saved in my phone, I hesitated for days, weighing the consequences of what I was about to do. Finally, I mustered the courage to make the call. My hands shook as I punched in the digits, my heart pounding in my chest. Hello? A smooth voice answered. It was Jake. I felt a rush of adrenaline. Hi, this is David, Emily's husband. Can I ask you something? There was a brief silence on the other end before he replied, Sure, what's up? My mind raced as I struggled to find the right words. I just wanted to know what your relationship with Emily is. Are you two close? His response was immediate. We're friends, man. Nothing more. But the way he said it felt rehearsed, and I could sense a hint of unease in his voice. After that call, I was left with more questions than answers. I could feel the storm brewing inside me, a tempest of emotions that threatened to explode at any moment. I watched Emily closely, looking for any signs of deception. She seemed to sense my scrutiny, her laughter a little too forced, her smiles a little too bright. One evening, while she was in the shower, I decided to take a look at her phone. I felt guilty, but the need for answers was overwhelming. I found her text messages and scrolled through them, my heart racing. Most of the messages were innocuous, but then I stumbled upon a string of texts between her and Jake that made my blood run cold. I can't stop thinking about you, one message read. My hands shook as I read it. Another followed, tonight was incredible. I can't wait to see you again. In that moment, everything shattered. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of betrayal. I couldn't breathe as the weight of the truth settled over me. When Emily emerged from the bathroom, I was ready to confront her once and for all. Emily, we need to talk, I said, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. I held up her phone, the screen illuminated with the damning messages. Her face paled as she saw what I had discovered. David, please let me explain, she pleaded, but the words felt hollow. Explain what? I shot back, my voice rising. How you've been lying to me. How you've been seeing Jake behind my back. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but I felt no pity. I was devastated, betrayed in the most intimate way possible. Emily finally broke down, her sobs echoing through the apartment. I didn't want to hurt you, David. It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. The weight of her confession crushed me. So it's true then. You and Jake have been having an affair. My voice cracked as I spoke, the pain evident in every word. She nodded, her face buried in her hands. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to stop it. I was confused, and Jake made me feel alive again. The betrayal stung, but her words ignited something within me, a burning rage mixed with heartache. I had loved her, trusted her, and she had thrown it all away for a fleeting thrill. As I stood there, my heart in pieces, I realized I had a choice to make. I could either fight for our marriage or walk away from the woman I had once adored. But how could I ever trust her again? Emily, I need time to think, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't even look at you right now. She nodded, tears streaming down her face as I turned away, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I felt lost, like a ship adrift in a stormy sea, unsure of where to go next. The days that followed were a blur of pain and confusion. I moved into the spare bedroom, unable to face Emily. The silence between us was deafening, and every glance felt like a reminder of the betrayal. I poured myself into my writing, using my words to navigate the turmoil within me. I couldn't stop thinking about Jake, the man who had come into our lives and disrupted everything. I wondered what he saw in Emily, what made her choose him over our love. Each time I thought of them together, a wave of anger washed over me, fueling my desire for revenge. Weeks passed, and I struggled to find clarity. I made up my mind to confront Jake, to demand answers from the man who had stolen my wife's heart. I needed to know why he had pursued Emily, knowing she was married. One evening, I found him at a bar downtown, the same place I had seen them together before. As I approached him, I felt a sense of determination rising within me. I wouldn't let him get away with this. Jake, I said, my voice steady as I approached him. He looked up, surprise etched on his face. We need to talk. The tension in the air was palpable as we faced each other, both aware of the storm that had brought us to this moment. Jake studied me for a moment, his expression shifting from surprise to defensiveness. David, this isn't a good time, he muttered, trying to look past me as if he could escape the situation. I stepped closer, blocking his line of sight. No, it's exactly the right time. You need to explain yourself, I said, my voice low but firm. The air between us crackled with unspoken tension, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. He sighed, as if he was being forced to confront a truth he had been avoiding. Look, man, I didn't mean for it to happen. Emily and I just connected. It's not like she was unhappy with you. Not unhappy. I scoffed, anger bubbling to the surface. You think it's okay to pursue a married woman? To steal her away from her husband? Steal her? David, I didn't force her. She made her own choices, he shot back, his voice rising. It was the first time I'd seen him show any real emotion, and it both infuriated and intrigued me. Choices? Is that what you call it? I took a step closer, my fists clenched. You knew she was married, and yet you chose to go after her anyway. You knew what you were doing. Maybe I did, but Emily is an adult. She can make her own decisions, he said, a hint of defiance in his tone. I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't control how she feels. His words stung, and I could feel my resolve wavering. I wanted to lash out, to make him feel the pain he had caused, but a part of me knew that this wasn't just about him. It was about Emily too, and the choices we all made. Why did you even want her? I asked, my voice steadier now. What was it about her that made you think it was okay to cross that line? Jake hesitated, his bravado faltering. Because she's incredible, man. She has this light about her that draws people in. I didn't plan it, but once we started talking, the connection was undeniable. Undeniable? I echoed, my heart racing. And what about the vows she made? What about the love we built together? David, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Emily is the one who let it happen, he insisted, but I could see the guilt creeping into his eyes. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm raging inside me. I didn't want to become the man who resorted to violence or revenge. But I also couldn't ignore the pain that had been inflicted upon me. What happens now? I asked, my voice quieter. He shrugged, a look of uncertainty crossing his face. I don't know. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought we were just having fun. Fun? Is that how you justify it? I shook my head, disappointment flooding through me. You've destroyed my marriage, and you think it's just a game. David, please, he said, his tone softening. I'm sorry for what happened. I never wanted to hurt you. But Emily and I, we had something real. The weight of his words hung between us, and I felt the anger begin to dissipate, replaced by a deep sadness. I realized that Jake was right in one way, Emily had made her own choices. But my heart ached for the love we had shared, for the life we had built together, now crumbling around us. I need to tread carefully now, I said, feeling defeated. I have to figure out what I want, what's best for me moving forward. Jake nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. I get that. I didn't mean to come into your life and disrupt everything. I'm truly sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I replied, my voice heavy with resignation. You've already crossed a line that can't be undone. As I left the bar, I felt a mixture of relief and despair. Confronting Jake hadn't given me the closure I sought, but it had forced me to confront my own feelings. I returned home, uncertain of what awaited me. Emily was in the living room, her eyes red from crying. The sight of her sent a wave of conflicting emotions crashing over me, love, anger, betrayal. I took a deep breath before stepping inside. David, she said softly, looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. I didn't expect you to come back so soon. Neither did I replied, my voice steady. We need to talk. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our shared history hovering heavily in the air. Finally, I broke the silence. I spoke to Jake. Emily's expression shifted, fear flashing across her face. What did he say? He said he didn't mean to hurt me, that it just happened, I replied, my heart racing. But that's not enough. You have to understand what you did to us. I know, she whispered, her voice trembling. I never wanted to hurt you, David. I was confused, and I made a terrible mistake. Confusion doesn't justify betrayal, I said, feeling my emotions boil to the surface. You chose to pursue something with him instead of coming to me. Why didn't you talk to me first? I thought I was losing you, she said, her voice cracking. I felt so alone, and Jake was there. I never meant for it to go this far. Alone? I echoed, incredulity creeping into my voice. You could have come to me. We could have worked through it together. I didn't see that then, she replied, tears streaming down her cheeks. I was caught up in the moment. I should have known better. I could feel my heart breaking all over again, torn between love for the woman I had married and the reality of her betrayal. Emily, I don't know if I can forgive you for this. I don't expect you to, she said, her voice heavy with regret. But I want to try to make it right. I love you, David. I never stopped loving you. Her words pierced me, igniting a flicker of hope in the dark abyss of my heart. But hope was a fragile thing, and I wasn't sure if it could withstand the weight of betrayal. I need time, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't just pretend everything is okay. I need to figure out what I want. Emily nodded, understanding the gravity of my words. I'll give you space. Just know that I am willing to fight for us, no matter what it takes. With that, I turned away, feeling the distance between us stretching like an unbridgeable chasm. The silence that followed was deafening, a reminder of the love that had been lost. In the days that followed, I focused on myself. I took long walks along the lakefront, letting the cool breeze wash over me as I tried to sort through my emotions. I poured my heart into my writing, using my experiences as fuel for my creativity. Each word became cathartic, helping me navigate the chaos within. Emily respected my need for space, and for that, I was grateful. But the emptiness in the apartment was palpable, a constant reminder of what we had lost. I missed the laughter, the intimacy, and the warmth of our love. But I also felt a strong sense of betrayal that wouldn't easily fade. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself questioning everything. Could I truly forgive her? Was it even possible to rebuild what had been shattered? I began to realize that healing was not a linear process. It was filled with ups and downs, moments of clarity, and moments of doubt. One evening, as I sat at my desk, I received a text from Emily. "Can we talk? I miss you." My heart clenched at her words. I had missed her too, but was scared of what that meant for us. I hesitated for a moment before replying, "Okay. Let's talk." We decided to meet at a small cafe we used to frequent, a place filled with memories of happier times. As I walked in, I spotted Emily sitting at a corner table, her fingers nervously twisting the napkin in front of her. "Hey," I said, forcing a smile as I slid into the seat across from her. "Hey," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. The tension between us was palpable, a mix of hope and anxiety. "I've been thinking," I began, my heart racing. "About us. About everything that's happened." Emily looked up, her eyes filled with longing and regret. "I have too. I know that I hurt you in the worst way possible, and I'm so sorry for that. I want to make things right." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I don't want to rush into anything. I need to know that you're really committed to making this work." "I am," she said earnestly. "I've realized how much I took our love for granted. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that to you." As we talked, I could see the sincerity in her eyes. But doubt still lingered in my mind. "I want to believe you, Emily. But it's going to take time for me to trust you again." "I understand," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm willing to wait. I don't want to lose you, David." Her words warmed my heart but also reminded me of the pain I had endured. "I just need to know that you won't let anything come between us again. I need you to be honest, even when it's difficult." "I promise," she said, her eyes glistening with sincerity. "I will be honest with you from now on, no matter what." With that promise, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. It wouldn't be easy, but perhaps there was a way forward for us. We spent the rest of the evening talking, reminiscing about our shared memories and dreams for the future. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the cafe, I realized that while the road ahead would be challenging, it was one I was willing to navigate with her, one step at a time. In the weeks that followed, we began the slow process of rebuilding our relationship. We attended couples therapy, where we learned to communicate our feelings and work through our pain. It was difficult, but each session brought us closer to understanding one another. Emily made a conscious effort to be open and transparent, sharing her feelings and fears with me. I did my best to reciprocate, even when it felt uncomfortable. The vulnerability was both terrifying and liberating. Gradually, we started to rediscover the love that had drawn us together in the first place. We went on weekend trips, tried new activities, and even revisited the places that held special memories for us. With each passing day, I felt the weight of betrayal lifting, replaced by a renewed sense of hope. But old wounds still lingered, and there were moments when doubt crept in. I would catch myself wondering if I was making a mistake by trusting her again. One night, as we were watching a movie together, Emily received a text message from Jake. My heart raced as I saw her face change, a mix of surprise and discomfort washing over her. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice tight with apprehension. "It's Jake," she replied, hesitating. "He wants to talk." A wave of anger surged through me. What does he want? After everything that happened, why would he reach out? I don't know, she said, her voice trembling. But I'll handle it. I promise. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, fear, anger, insecurity, as Emily excused herself to take the call. I couldn't help but eavesdrop, my heart pounding in my chest. Jake, this isn't a good time, I heard her say, her voice steady but strained. David and I are working things out. My heart sank as I listened to her speak, unsure of what Jake was saying. But I could hear the tension in her voice, the way it tightened as she tried to distance herself from him. After several minutes, she hung up and returned to the couch, her expression conflicted. He wanted to apologize, he said he didn't mean to come between us. Did you believe him? I asked, my voice low. I don't know, she admitted, tears brimming in her eyes. But it doesn't matter. I'm here with you, and I want to be with you. Please trust me. I took a deep breath, realizing the weight of my decision. I could choose to let the past consume me, or I could trust her and move forward. It would be difficult, but I wanted to believe in the love we were rebuilding. I'll try, I said finally, my heart still heavy but filled with a glimmer of hope. I want to trust you, Emily. But it will take time. I understand, she replied, her voice softening. I'll do everything I can to show you that I'm committed to us. As months passed, we continued to work on our relationship, learning to communicate and support one another in ways we hadn't before. Slowly but surely, the scars began to fade, replaced by a deeper understanding of our love. We celebrated small victories, sharing laughter over dinner, taking spontaneous trips, and rebuilding our intimacy. Each moment felt like a step toward healing, a step toward creating something new from the ashes of our past. Finally, one evening, as we watched the sunset from our balcony, I turned to Emily, a sense of peace washing over me. I think we're going to be okay, I said, my voice steady. I do too, she replied, her eyes shining with hope. I love you, David. I'm so grateful for your willingness to fight for us. I love you too, I said, feeling the warmth of her words envelop me. We've come a long way, and I'm proud of us. As we embraced, I knew that while our journey had been filled with challenges, it had also brought us closer together. We were stronger now, bound by our shared experiences and the love that had endured through the trials. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but we were ready to face it together, hand in hand, with a renewed commitment to each other. And in that moment, I felt a sense of hope for the future, knowing that our love could weather any storm. Looking back on everything that had happened, I realized that life was a series of choices, some difficult, some painful, but all shaping who we were. Our journey had taught me the importance of communication, trust, and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. As I sat down to write the final words of my story, I smiled, knowing that while our past was not perfect, it had led us to a beautiful new beginning. And with that, I closed my laptop, feeling ready to embrace whatever life had in store for us next. In the months that followed, we continued to grow and change, both individually and as a couple. Emily had taken up yoga, finding solace and clarity in the practice. I watched her transform, her confidence growing as she found balance and peace within herself. I, too, found new inspiration in my writing. I began to explore deeper themes, drawing from our experiences to create stories that resonated with others. It felt liberating to channel my emotions into something meaningful, something that could connect with those who had faced similar struggles. We surrounded ourselves with friends who uplifted us, people who believed in the power of love and second chances. Through their support, we learned to navigate the complexities of relationships, understanding that it was okay to lean on others during tough times. One evening, we hosted a gathering at our apartment, inviting close friends to celebrate our journey. As laughter filled the room and stories were shared, I felt a surge of gratitude wash over me. We had weathered the storm, and now we were thriving. As the night wore on, I pulled Emily aside, feeling the warmth of her presence beside me. I'm so proud of us, I said, looking into her eyes. We've come a long way, and I believe in our future." She smiled, her hand slipping into mine. "Me too, David. I promise to keep working on myself and our relationship. I love you more than you know." In that moment, I felt a deep sense of contentment. We had chosen each other, time and again, and I was confident that our love would continue to grow. Over the next few months, we planned a trip to Europe, something we had always dreamed of doing together. It felt like the perfect opportunity to create new memories, free from the shadows of our past. As we explored the winding streets of Paris, the vibrant markets of Barcelona, and the historic landmarks of Rome, I marveled at how far we had come. With each new experience, I felt the bond between us strengthening, woven together by love, trust, and shared adventures. Through our travels, we learned to appreciate the beauty of the world and the importance of growth, both as individuals and as a couple. We discovered new passions, tried new foods, and embraced the thrill of the unknown together. I realized that life would always have its ups and downs, but with Emily by my side, I felt equipped to face whatever challenges lay ahead. We were building a life together, one filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As our trip came to an end, I reflected on the journey we had taken together. From the depths of betrayal to the heights of newfound understanding, we had emerged stronger and more connected than ever before. With the sun setting over the horizon, casting a golden glow on our surroundings, I turned to Emily. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" She nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely. The best is yet to come." And in that moment, I knew that we were ready to embrace whatever life had in store for us, hand in hand, with love guiding the way. As we returned home, I felt a renewed sense of hope and excitement for the future. Our love story was far from over, it was merely the beginning of a new chapter, one we would write together. We continued to support one another, nurturing our dreams and aspirations while keeping the lines of communication open. We celebrated our successes and faced challenges together, never losing sight of the love that had brought us back together. With each passing day, I embraced the unknown, knowing that life would continue to throw curveballs our way. But I also knew that we had the strength to face anything together, armed with the lessons we had learned along the way. We took spontaneous weekend trips, rediscovered our favorite local spots, and even began to talk about starting a family someday. The idea of building a future together filled me with a sense of purpose and joy. As the seasons changed and the years rolled on, our love only deepened. We created a legacy of love, one built on trust, vulnerability, and resilience. We learned to appreciate the beauty in the ordinary moments, finding joy in the little things that made life special. Through it all, I realized that our journey was a testament to the power of love, a love that could endure, heal, and grow stronger in the face of adversity. Looking back on our story, I couldn't help but feel grateful for every twist and turn. Each challenge had shaped us, molding us into the people we were meant to be, together. As I sat down to write in my journal, reflecting on the lessons we had learned, I smiled, knowing that our love story was far from ordinary. It was a story of growth, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief that love could conquer all. With a heart full of hope and a spirit ready for adventure, I closed my journal, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. The future awaited, and I was excited to see where our journey would take us next. Together, we would continue to write our love story, one filled with laughter, joy, and the promise of endless possibilities. And as I looked ahead, I knew that with Emily by my side, anything was possible.